It's 7:30 by my watch, so this meeting is officially open. I'd like to welcome everybody who's able to join us in person from the comfort of their home, online. Very good evening. I'd like to start by doing some introductions. So if I can start by myself, my name is Councillor Madiha Asim, and I represent the Feltham West Ward. I'm also the chair of the meeting for this evening. If I can start from my right.
Hello, good evening. I'm Councillor Adesh Parman from Bedfont Ward. I'm Vice Chair, Area Forum. Thank you.
Councillor Raghuvinder Sidhu from Bedfont.
Hi, good evening everyone. I'm Councillor Lily Bath and I represent the Bedfont Ward, and I'm also the Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care and Health and Public Health. Thank you.
Hello, good evening everyone. My name is Muhammad Shakil Akram. I'm the councillor from Feltham North Ward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kuldeep Tak. I'm councillor for Feltham North Ward.
Good evening. I'm Alan Mitchell for Feltham West Ward. Thank you.
Sorry, Jyoti Patel. I'm the clerk for the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members. Just briefly, if I can introduce our guests as well.
Good evening, my name's Kelly O'Neill. I'm the Borough Director of Public Health.
Good evening, I'm Stephen Forbes and I'm the Executive Director for Children's and Adult Services at the Council.
Thank you very much. Introductions done. Now we move on to the second item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence, declarations of interest, and any other communications. I've received apologies from Councillor Nagra for absence and Councillor Hina Mir for lateness. Do members have any other communication or declarations of interest? Thank you very much. Now we move on to the third item on the agenda, which is announcements, and I'd like to hand over to Councillor Sidhu for an update on Lime bikes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. So, Lime Bike, the officers have completed the review of Lime Bike scheme after the details of that is published on our website. So the data was provided by the Lime Bikes, and after reviewing with the community comments and consultations with cabinet members and ward members, so it is decided that the base will be discussed with the ward members and cabinet members. So the data we have is from the Lime Bike, and overall scheme has been 132% increase in ridership, and this is the borough-wide. And this 100% increase in active users. The peak time was September 2024 last year, and 93,000 trips were made during the schemes which is started last year, 2024. There's a feedbacks from the ward members to review the data, and the Lime's responsibility for collection of damaged and carelessness for parked e-bikes, that's the major concern. So what Lime is saying is that the 98% was compliance with as per their requirement, even though that data is like council is assessing that data from their officers, and Cycle Sisters are also helping the council to see how much data is correct and assessing the data. TfL and London councils have also met the leadership of the Lime Bike to discuss the various concerns. The major concern is unacceptable impact that this is having on the accessibility and public safety across London. In response to this, so Lime promised to spend £20 million on investment to improving Lime Bike infrastructure operation. Sorry?
There'll be plenty of opportunities to have your say in the open forum. I'd just like to request Councillor Sidhu to finish, please.
So they are meeting again with Councillor Catherine Dunn, who is responsible for that, in April to see how this investment can be used. So Lime and police is working closely in Feltham as well with Councillor Alan Mitchell to see how we can use more enforcement with youth clubs so that we can improve the services in Feltham. So it should be noted that in the absence of dedicated base for the e-bikes, local authorities do not currently have any powers or legislation so that we can chuck Lime bike out totally. So by working with Lime bike, we can improve the working with the Lime. So officers have been asked to attend the next area forum, and where the residents will have a direct opportunity to work with Lime. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sidhu. Councillor Mitchell, yeah?
Yeah, just to add to what Ragwinder told us there, as far as I'm aware, and the conversations I've had, the town centre one outside the old New Look is actually used a lot, and it's used properly, but it's also a hotspot where it's used incorrectly by youths. So I've had discussions with the police and with Lime and their representative, so that's going to be policed and given a lot more scrutiny moving forward, so we make sure that one works. Otherwise, we're going to call that back in. On the other side of the High Street, it's Hamworth Park Ward, but the bay by the War Memorial, I believe, is actually going to be withdrawn. I think that's where Councillor Gurung is with his current negotiations, because I know that a lot of people felt that was inappropriate, the placement there. So that's the update from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mitchell. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, minutes of the meeting held on 28th of November. Can I please ask members to review the minutes? And for transparency and accuracy, we'd like to go through page by page. So starting on page 7, could members please agree the minutes? Page 7, page 8, page 9, and page 10. Thank you. So the minutes are agreed. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Hounslow Health Strategy, and I believe Councillor Bath, just ahead of myself. Any matters arising from the minutes? Councillor Mitchell, I believe you're first.
Yeah, a question came, I think it was from Anne last time, about why the scaffolding was still up outside Asda. I've yet to receive a full response from Town Centre Management, but what is being done there, from what the staff tell me, is that it's to replace the slates that have come off the roof in storms in recent months, and they're being left there until that's complete. Anne may have an update for us on that. Okay. Can someone give Anne a microphone just so we can hear what she's saying? Well, yeah. They're waiting for the nails to bang them in, yeah? To bang the slates back into the roof, which, if there's anything to do with Barrett's... Yes, on a slow boat from China, I believe. Yes, and that's probably true. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Yeah, but next time we will have the full response from TCN, Town Centre Management. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mitchell. Next one is from myself. Farzana, who is a resident in Bedfont, spoke of the ongoing roadworks in Feltham near the town centre. She also mentioned that it takes 50 minutes to drive from Bedfont to around Feltham. And she asked if anything could be done to manage how and when the roadworks are scheduled to minimise disruption. So we received a response from traffic and transport officers. Now, Hounslow Highways are the ones who coordinate the public highways, and they operate a permit scheme through which developers, utilities, and the contractors can inform them of planned or emergency works. And in the coordination process, an overview is taken of works in the locality. In some cases, depending on the nature of the works, multiple works may go ahead in an effort to gain collaboration where possible and pull necessary works together in an area so that they can occur over a shorter time scale rather than happening individually over a longer period. For planned work that will usually cause disruption, the utilities are asked to notify the residents by letter drops and put up advanced warning signs at the appropriate locations. Regarding emergency works, utilities are requested to notify residents as soon as possible. For road closures, the utilities and other works promoters are required to notify the residents, local businesses, as soon as possible, at least 2 weeks in advance, except for emergency works. Granted permits can be viewed on the roadworks map, and there is a link for that as well. The real-time mapping system shows works within your local area. Contact details are also available to report any concerns residents may have directly to the utility or contractor responsible. They can also contact Hounslow Highways. Just to note that it is also the responsibilities of the utilities and the contractors to manage their own work sites, ensuring that they operate safely and efficiently. After works, they should reinstate the highway to standards required under New Roads and Street Works Act 1991. Thank you. I'll now pass over to Councillor Bath for her update.
Thank you. I believe at last area forum, I wasn't actually here, but you did have a discussion around cycling and trying to deter adults and children from cycling on pavements. And you were also asking about cycle education training. I believe at the meeting you were given examples of some of the training schemes that the council actually do operate. I think Bike Doctor, Bikeability, and there's quite a lot of training that's provided, cycle training that's provided to children at schools. But I just wanted to remind you that where you still identify problems, that it's important to report them to the police, and you can do that on 111. Or you can do it anonymously, or you can do it by ringing 0800 555 111. And the community safety team will continue to work with residents and police to manage issues of this kind, because I know it can be quite antisocial when you sort of come across that. But if anybody is still having problems, then please speak to a member of team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bath. Councillor Sidhu?
Yes, recently we have complaints about council dimming the lights, street lights. So I just want to update that, like, our Hounslow Council's lighting system is like one of the very modern system. So we have LED lights which are introduced in 2017, and so the lights have been dimmed before as well. So, but now it's like the options are to how to dim the lights where we don't need the lights, and council is in discussions with the police where we need to keep it bright, we'll keep it bright, and we are not dimming the whole borough lights. So this will be just misconception and rumors. So we will work with the police and with the communities, and we will work by road to road basis, and you are open to have open discussions with your councillors, with any of us where you are concerned with. So this is no way we are putting public at risks. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sidhu. Are there any other matters arising from the minutes from members? No, thank you. That moves us on to the next item on the agenda, Hounslow Health Strategy, and I'd like to hand over to Councillor Bath for her introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Before Stephen Forbes and Kelly O'Neill present the strategy, I just wanted to briefly explain why it's here at Area Forum. So each local authority has a responsibility to develop a health and wellbeing strategy for its area so that it can prioritise health and wellbeing of its residents. So our strategy needs refreshing. It needs to be looked at again. And like every strategy, we want to hear from the residents around what their views are, what it means to them to be healthy, and how the council can support them. So it's really about listening to your views. You'll get a presentation from Kelly, and then hopefully you can feed into it. You don't have to tonight. It's a consultation, but we'd really like to hear your views. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Let's put that. So, as Councillor Barker said, every 3 years we have to refresh the health and wellbeing strategy, and it's led through the Health and Wellbeing Board, which is a board that every single local authority have to have in place. And what we normally do is that we refresh this strategy every 3 years. And obviously, the last year we were sort of on the back of COVID, and it's fair to say that our consultation probably wasn't as robust as we needed it to be. So we've got about another 16 months before the strategy comes to an end. And actually we're using the 16 months to really ask residents, what does health and wellbeing mean to them? How do we work with different communities to understand what's the priority for each community? So we're going to all of the area forums. And as you'll see from my colleagues, they've got a sort of a table with tablecloths that you can write on. It's just an opportunity to have for the communities to express their thoughts about what we should prioritise. In the past, we've gone down quite a traditional route, you know, uptake of vaccination, supporting people with diabetes, encouraging people with long-term conditions to think about how to get sort of weller. But actually what we want is probably a far more inclusive opportunity to think about health and well-being in a different way, rather than this kind of narrow medical focus. So thank you for the opportunity to have a conversation tonight. What I'm going to present is a series of slides just to sort of trigger some conversation about some general ideas that we have. And then I'm going to ask for any opportunities to sort of think about what you might want to add in. But as Councillor Bark has said, this is not the only opportunity, this is just the starting point. So, traditionally, we think about health and well-being in a sort of whether you'll get access to your GP, whether you get access to the dentist, and obviously a 24/7 access to hospitals. But fundamentally, health is not driven by that. It's the environment that you're born into, it's the environment that you grow up in, that you live in, it's the quality of your housing, it's the quality of the education that young people and sort of adults receive. It's good employment, it's access to healthy food. It's all of those things that combined that allow people to live a much healthier life. In many respects, most healthcare is when things go wrong, albeit that there is some preventative measures that are funded by the NHS and funded by public health that allow people to identify when their health is going off course. But really, it's about the environment that people live in, which is why this Healthy Places table over here is really, really important. This particular graphic is quite pretty, it's quite busy as well. And what we've got here are what we call the social determinants, the wider determinants. And you'll see at the bottom right-hand side about the environment, housing, education, climate change, air quality. What's missing is income there. It's fair to say that if you're wealthier, you're healthier. That's in general. And remember, we're talking about at a population level. There are some trends being bucked here. But actually what really does drive health is how you feel, how you connect with your community. So it's great to see that everybody's here, but actually people who are healthier are joining in, are participating, feel included in the neighbourhoods and communities that they belong to. And neighbourhoods can be geographical and communities can be equally based on where you live, but usually part of who you identify with. And it's that feeling of being supported and cared for. So people who are more vulnerable, people who are socially isolated and lonely, tend to have poorer health, which is why, particularly as people get older, when their families move away, that kind of idea that older people living alone, particularly when that is the time of life when your health deteriorates quite rapidly, it's really important that we're able to mobilise a better way of supporting those people in the community. And that's why Healthy Ageing table over there is really, really important, because we really do need to get it right for older people to live healthier, longer, but also to be able to live more independently. Other parts of it, we've obviously got sort of that kind of community spaces, local business and volunteering, and but really most of health is driven by your sense of belonging, sense of being supported and cared for in a community. And we do have, obviously, access to services is really, really important, and we know from some of the tables, and actually before we put it on the tables, we know that access to some of our primary care services has been perceived to be somewhat difficult, and not just perceived. Things like access to dentists has been a really challenging thing even before COVID. So one of the things I might ask my team to put together is just some of the kind of key points about each of the area forums. So this data is for Feltham and Bedfont, and we've compared Feltham to the rest of the borough. Okay, so when we look at this particular area, 15.6% of households are overcrowded compared to 14.6% in Hounslow. That's based on how many bedrooms a family have and a family need. So we know that more people are living in overcrowded conditions. Comparably, homes that lack central heating, there's very few of them, but I can imagine that probably the people that live in homes which are sort of insufficiently heated may well be our older residents, particularly those people who live in their own homes. Universal credit claimants, that's people who are on, who have lower income or who are unemployed. So there's more people per thousand of the people that live in this area who are claiming universal credit. And then crime figures are slightly higher in Feltham and Bedfont than it is for the rest of the borough. If we then move on, what you do have is green spaces, and the average distance to a green space is quite good. It's quite good in the borough in general, but actually it's pretty good here. Public transport accessibility level. Now it's not a complex thing, but essentially all of London is looked at in terms of 0, which means there's no access to public transport, it's very difficult, or 6. 6 is central London, where there's lots of public transport. Feltham and Bedfont is 1B, which means access is pretty poor, okay, in general, whereas most of the rest of Hounslow is at 2, which means it's not great, but it's better than Feltham and Bedfont. If you look at air quality, now air quality is an issue for the whole of London. The whole of London is in what's called an air quality management zone, and that will be unsurprising, okay? You've got lots and lots of traffic, lots of infrastructure that generates emissions. Aircraft, yep, all of that will contribute to that.
Block off the road to give an inflated CO2 level.
So what you'll find is that air quality, particulate matter, that's the sort of droplets and the liquid droplets and the solid droplets that really come from vehicle emissions, is higher it's lower here compared to the rest of Hounslow. But that doesn't mean it's at a good level. As I said, the whole of London is in an air quality management zone. So air quality in London is not good. And these are the risks that are associated with asthma, chronic respiratory problems, including things like dementia. So dementia with air quality is an increased risk. And then similarly, nitrogen dioxide is at a just slightly lower level than the rest of Hounslow. But that said, it's still quite high. The national level is that it has to be under 40, but no one wants to go anywhere near that kind of level, because that really is poor quality air quality. Poor quality air quality.
Stop spraying our skies with poison.
Can I please request you not to interrupt? You'll have your chance. This now's not the... Could I please ask you not to interrupt when the guests are speaking? Thank you, sir.
I'm happy to have a conversation after about air quality. What we've then done is looked at 3 different age groups, so children, working age adults and older people, and looked at what are the 5 health conditions where there's the greatest number of recorded cases. Now, just a little bit of a caveat here, because there's an issue about recording, so it depends if it's actually on a register. So some things might be slightly off, but it might give you an indication of where we want to focus some of our health strategy. And because we've focused on children having the best start in life, working age adults and living a sort of independent life, and supporting older people, we've kind of fitted it into that age group. And somebody has written on the table, which I kind of support, is supporting young people with autism and ADHD. And what you see is those kind of levels of autism, asthma, ADHD, learning disabilities and smoking. Smoking will include vaping. And if you look at those at the chart on the side, apart from ADHD, all the rest of that sort of the levels of, or the prevalence, the percentage of children who are affected by that is worse than the Hounslow average. We've also included weight management. So healthy weight is a really important indicator. And to be honest, it's going completely in the wrong direction. And it's not just Hounslow, it's across the country. No area is actually managing on a kind of child population level to reduce the level of overweight and obesity. And if we could solve that, that would just be unbelievably fantastic. So when we look at the percentage of children, what we see is a really comparable level to the rest of the country. We're nowhere near the worst, but we're nowhere near the best. And what we see is this massive difference between children aged 4 and 5, where the levels of overweight and obesity are roughly about 12 to 13%. And suddenly when you get to that year 6, which is 12-year-old children, massive jump up to 27.8%. Now that 27.8% is children who are overweight and obese. And that trend is across the country. There is nowhere that that trend is different. When we look at the working age adult population, again, all of the indicators, the sort of health of working age adults in Feltham and Bedfont is worse than the average of Hounslow. And these are the top 5 health conditions, and some of those are quite modifiable, and some of it is about behaviours and lifestyle. So if we tackle smoking in general, that is the single most important modifiable way to improve your health. Yeah, completely. If we stopped people smoking and supported them in a way that allowed them to quit, and we've got lots more money that's come in from the government to be able to do that, and our stop smoking services are all over the borough, but we still have lots of people who are still smoking, and it is a challenge. It's an addiction. It is problematic. Obesity, hypertension, depression, and non-diabetic hypoglycemia. So the non-diabetic hypoglycemia is low blood sugar, but you're not diagnosed with diabetes. Okay? And then we move on to the older population. And none of this is unsurprising. So we all know that as we get older, we start experiencing these long-term conditions that start to really cause a few problems. So hypertension, high blood pressure is much more common. Diabetes, particularly in certain cultural groups, South Asian groups particularly, diabetes is far more prevalent. Again, we've got the non-diabetic hypoglycemia. I often think that may well be a little bit of undiagnosed diabetes, so that early stage but pre-diagnosis obesity and chronic kidney disease. As we get older, our kidneys are less capable, functioning less. And again, apart from the non-diabetic hypoglycemia, all of those indicators are red. But actually, I think this is the end of that presentation. I think while we focus on these indicators, if we got people wealthier and living in a kind of an environment where there's much more access to green spaces that people use, people much more physically active, better access to healthy food, living in a much better sort of environment, then actually by definition will improve health in general. So when we start looking at our strategy, we're aiming to move away from this idea of reducing the prevalence of diabetes, because we're already doing that. But actually we want to hear from you to be able to say, this is what we need from you in order to make our lives healthier and more independent. So it's just thinking about taking a different approach. Stephen, do you want to?
Yeah, so I would just follow up on what Kelly said. I mean, we do want to know what you think about services and GP access and in essence, the things that are necessary for the community to improve health. However, there are a couple of things that I would, in essence, kind of throw back into the community. So one of the things that Kelly hasn't picked up on there is what's called readiness for school. And people think that readiness for school is about children able to learn. It's not. It's about children actually presenting at school able to participate. And we have an increasing trend in Hounslow and in Feltham of about 25% of our children arriving at reception class aged 4.5, who are not ready for school. And that means, and to put it into reality, they're unable to sit still and participate, they're unable to share, they're unable to pay attention, they're frequently not toilet trained, they can't take on and off their own coats, and at the worst spectrum, they're unable to articulate their views. So they can't express, they can't engage in conversation. And what our schools end up doing is spending roughly 18 months focusing on getting those children ready for school, when it should be 18 months of reception into year 1 learning. What happens is our schools are incredibly good at getting those children up to national attainment levels. And attainment is, in essence, once you've done your exams, it's where you sit within the national table. So our children, after that initial period, attain relatively well. They attain at about or slightly above the national benchmarks. So they're equal to all the other children in London and across England and the UK. For me, in terms of the health strategy bit, we have an opportunity within Hounslow, and even in a localised area like Feltham, to make a generational change. Because what we also are is we're the second lowest wage economy in London. Barking and Dagenham, on average, people earn less than the people of Hounslow. In all other boroughs in London, people earn more. They make more advantage of the opportunities that this huge city has to provide them. Now, if you then go back and say, if we were able to reduce the number of children coming to our schools not ready for school, and that 18 months was not lost to preparing them for learning, but it was actually learning, the chances are our children would attain at a slightly higher level. They'd be ultra competitive in the London employment market. They'd potentially be earning £5,000 or £6,000 a year more. And we can all imagine what an extra £5,000 or £6,000 a year more means when you're on the average wage of about 30 grand. But that issue, readiness for school, is not something that services will solve. The services are already dealing with it. The schools are dealing with it. And some of our work in our family hubs deals with it as well. So my challenge back in some respects, in that area of health improvement, what can happen in the community to improve that? So less of our children present on day 1 at school not ready for school. Because ultimately, the life chances for those children in one generation would improve immensely, and the economy of this borough and its health of its population would improve over a potential 20-year. I won't be around in 20 years' time. I'll be one of the older people trying to get access to my GP practice, probably sitting in an A&E ward or something because I've fallen over or whatever. But in 20 years' time, our children that are aged 3 and 4 now could be potentially earning £5,000 a year more if we just prepared them in the community for readiness for school. And my colleagues would not forgive me because I repeat it every time I go out. We have a thing called 50 things to do before you're 5. It's on our website. We'll drop it into here. I would encourage you and all your family members and everybody you know who's got a child under the age of 5 to download that from our website. And it is literally 50 things that you can do with an under 5-year-old to prepare them to be ready for school. And it costs nothing at all. You can download it off the website for free. None of the activities require payment for anything. And it's simple activities like singing. Why do you sing with children? Because one, it helps children control and form the shapes of words in their mouth. It therefore allows them to express. And that in itself is key to learning. So there are a whole load of things in there. And I would ask you to, after this meeting, go to that website, I'll drop it in, and use that and spread it. Because if we were able to get a couple of kids who were ready for school by the use of that, that's a first step. So all I would say is we are really keen to hear your views about health and improving your own health and well-being and what can be done in the community, as Kelly said. But I'm also keen for you to think about what you can do in your local family, your community networks, and as a community as a whole, particularly about that readiness for school issue. Thank you. There you go. Leaflets. I never get away from it.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kelly and Stephen, for the wonderful presentation. Some really eye-opening statistics there. I'd like to open the floor now to residents for questions. Please keep them regarding the topic on hand. Thank you. Gentleman at the front. Yeah.
Yeah, you referenced green spaces in Feltham and Bedfont being sort of larger than most of Hounslow, but those areas aren't safe. How many people here would feel safe taking their families there? I have a daughter who lives next to Feltham Park, and with a young daughter, she wouldn't take her children in there because of what goes on in the parks, and there's no sort of sign of park wardens and things like that going around these areas, making people feel safer.
So I'll take that back to our community safety colleagues and raise that with them, because in essence that's something that they have a responsibility for, because parks should be a relatively safe place to be. There is no advantage of them if you can't actually go out and use them. So I'll take that back to them, and we'll have a look at that with our local police colleagues as well.
I agree with you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Lady in the front.
So we talk about our environment. So there's been a lot of new builds in the area, and it's like living like in a concrete jungle now, and we don't have green space in our road. I have to drive to places to get green space. And another thing with all the new builds is it creates an issue with parking because there's not enough parking. So you come out your house and it's just like a car park because everyone's double parked. So I just, how do we improve our environment if we keep building on top of each other?
So I think we are both fairly strong advocates for greenery in new developments. So I think there have been some new developments in Hounslow and across London as a whole that are fairly dense, fairly stony is the best description, and don't have enough free movement space. So free movement space doesn't always have to be green, but there has to be some place for youngsters to play, there to be a sense that you're not just living in bricks and mortar. So we advocate quite strongly in terms of internal discussions about planning developments where we would say it looks too dense. And I think and I hope that we'd make some difference over the next couple of years to some of the next developments coming up about having that less density, more environmental features in them.
There's since COVID, there was a real recognition that actually health needs to play a much bigger part in some of our planning. So it is a really, really key principle, certainly in the regeneration and the new developments that are going on at the moment. The work that went on in Feltham predates all of that, and I think there's some lessons to have been learned.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mitchell, you had a comment?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to come in and say that a lot of the development that has taken place in the town centre, and of course we had the problem with the railway bridge, working with Network Rail and Heathrow, it did go 3 years beyond time, but it cost 23 million. What came with that was a lot of what we call CIL, Community Infrastructure Levy, which meant we could spend money on Feltham Park, Feltham Green, upgrading it. And I believe the next plan is to develop the Longford River as a walk-through from Hanworth through to Feltham. So a lot of what we're discussing actually is there part of what's happening now and is ongoing with the regeneration of Feltham. So we should always bear that in mind, Chair, I think, when we have this discussion. Yeah. Thank you
very much, Councillor Mitchell. Who's next? Yep, gentleman back.
I'm a governor at a local primary school. So hearing about being ready for school before the age of 5, brilliant, great. So, it sounds like a leaflet would be great for my own, for my little girl as well as the school children that I support. But I just wonder that for those children who used to about fidgeting and getting at, having obviously just additional needs, I wonder whether there's been any focus with yourselves going forward, actually the lack of funding in schools for those with SEN and additional needs having an impact on, you said about the average wage, but actually we can do what we can for getting children ready to school before the age of 5, but if there are additional needs that actually prevent that barrier, what are we doing going forward? And it may not be a question just for you, but also for others in the, other decision makers there. But I hope my questions are succinct enough.
Okay, so I'm hopeful that the government will review the special educational needs regime. Previous governments have said that they would. Previous Prime Minister said that he would review the reforms that were brought in 2016 and didn't. And we do need to. The current SEND system we've got is not a functioning one. It doesn't work effectively. It doesn't balance individual child need against the abilities of the system to meet those needs, if I'm being honest. There's a real pressure either direction. So we need a completely different system. In Hounslow, we have done a lot over the last 2 and a bit years. So we put in place what are called mainstream inclusion partnerships, which is clustering of all the mainstream schools together. We gave them about £700,000 per cluster. There are 6 in Hounslow. And that was about identifying need much earlier, not escalating it through education, health and care plan assessment process, but getting in much earlier and meeting those needs through the range of things that are already available. And that has begun to show some really good outcomes for children's needs being identified much earlier, i.e. reception class, or even with the push we've got now in nurseries. Many children are identified when they're born with having a disability, but many, it doesn't begin to show until about age 2, 3 or 4 when we start seeing some of the stuff about not being able to participate, not being able to express, and that can be diagnostic in terms of a condition or a medical condition or a learning disability. So we are doing some good stuff early on. I think it'll take us about another 2 years, if I'm being honest, to see some of that come to full fruition. But on the data I see now, that those mainstream inclusion partnerships are making a definitive difference to that earlier diagnostic and getting in there early to deal with some of the simple stuff.
Okay, thank you. I think gentleman behind here.
May I ask as to what steps have been taken by the council to attract more doctors into the area? A few years ago, I asked at one of these forums why it was so difficult to get a doctor's appointment. And the reply I got from either your predecessor or another council officer was that they couldn't attract any more doctors into Feltham or Hounslow Borough, despite having built places like Hounslow Centre for Health and the health centre here in Feltham, is that the doctors did not want to come into the borough. So what steps have been taken by the council to attract more, because the situation is now worse than what it was before?
So responsibility for GPs doesn't sit with the council. It sits with the Integrated Care Board, which is North West London. Yeah. So there used to be a thing called the Primary Care Group, which has got replaced by the ICS, which is a North West London body. It is responsible, along with NHS England, on commissioning GP services. So the council has no direct responsibility for attracting in or payment or engagement of GPs at all. And remember, GPs are in the main independent contractors. They run their own business. There are an increasing number of GPs that are salaried, so they actually work for an organisation. But we do a lot of work through colleagues and in the systems we have with NHS to try and make Hounslow a place that is about improving people's health and would attract people in. But ultimately, if it's a GP practice, they are responsible for the recruitment of their own practitioners, supported by the NHS. And if it's one of the salaried GPs, it's the employing organisations responsible for filling those. There is a national shortage of GPs and GP training. That is a reality. And again, I would hope that the government will review that, because not only is it GPs, it's all the allied health professions, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, radiography, you name it. There isn't a national shortage in any of them, including my own profession, social work. There's a national shortage of us as well. So there is a real challenge for the government to look to the long-term training, because it takes, what, 7 years to train a GP or more?
More than that. More.
Yeah. More. Yeah. So it's a long-term strategy that we just will not get. There aren't GPs sitting at home looking for a job. That's the problem. That's the problem. We need to put the investment in to get people ready to be looking for a job.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bath, you want to have a point?
Yeah. I only wanted to add that, Stephen's absolutely right. There is a national shortage of GPs amongst many other areas. But there is NHS England are doing a consultation at the moment, so it's always worth feeding in whenever you get a survey from your GPs or a survey to feed that in, because I think that's really important. I mean, I've had a few surveys land on my doorstep and I've done exactly that, so I think it's important to do that. Thank you.
And the government has just announced that it is entering into, or is announcing it's going to consider entering into a renegotiation of the national GP contract, which will have a key requirement to extend access, that's NHS code, for more appointments.
Okay,
That'll
thank
be a
you very much.
discussion between the NHS and the BMA.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I'm going to take the last question, just in the interest of time. Gentleman at the back, please. Thank you.
Earlier, you mentioned development of parks. At the Feltham Pond, 3 trees, approximately 30 to 40 years old, were just chopped off. And the stumps are still sitting there. Can the council take permission of the residents before chopping off trees which are 30 years old? Can I request that? You can go to the pond right now and look at it. There are 3 trees that are chopped off.
Okay, so I can't give a detailed answer to that, because many things I'm responsible for. What I'm not responsible for is trees. But I'll take that back to the relevant colleague who is responsible for environment and get a response from them.
Thank you very much. I think Angela wanted to come in on that point.
Yeah, sorry. I can actually answer that question. I'm Angela Parton, or Friends of Fountain Green. We work in partnership with Green Space 360 and the House of Council. The trees that you are talking about were diseased and had to be removed because the disease would have spread to the other trees. Now, within that master plan, obviously, you can see that there is works happening at Fountain Green. And basically, those trees and more will be planted at Feltham Green once the master plan is finished. Now, the stumps will be removed. The tree people of Green Space 360, they're on the case, and hopefully they will be removed very soon. We do not. They will have to, everything that Green Space 360 comes through us. No trees will be removed unless they are really necessary. These trees had to be removed, otherwise the disease and deterioration of the other trees in that area will be affected. So we took on that responsibility with the information of the tree specialist, and they were removed. Because if they didn't, then in a storm or something, they would have fell on somebody or whatever sort of thing, because they would have rotted from the bottom up. So at the end of the day, tree specialist and tree maintenance, just like your car or your bike, it needs to be maintained. So the responsibility of Green Space 360, who is responsible for our parks, has to make that decision. If a tree is dangerous or diseased or environmentally can harm somebody or whatever, then it has to be removed. But within that's no problem at all. I'm glad, that's why it's lovely being a friends group, because we are, excuse the pun, we are roots ground. And and we are part of the community. I've been part of the community of Feltham since 1988, and all of my committee members are residents. So, having this issue, I know Alex gave us an email when the trees were felled. We do not pull up a tree or burn it down or take it down, cut it down, if it's healthy or whatever sort of thing. There is a reason, a very, very good reason, and it will be replaced with many other trees once Feltham Green. I call it Feltham Green is going to be like a mini Kew Gardens once we finish with it. So,
Thank you very much, Angela, for your
you,
very
Melanie.
comprehensive response. Thank you. Stephen would just like to come in there.
And if you're happy, Chair, I won't go back to the council offices and ask for any more clarity on that, because I think that's as good an answer as we'll ever get. It's good to see someone from the community able to answer where a council officer isn't.
Thank you very much. Now we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the open forum. If there were still any pending questions from the previous item on the agenda, then please feel free to use this opportunity to ask the question. Just a few ground rules before we begin. All questions need to come through myself, the chair. I will try to get through as many questions as possible. It is your opportunity to voice your concerns of any local issues that might be beneficial to everybody in the room. However, I do insist if there are individual caseworks, please do speak to your local councillors where possible. So I'd like to open the floor for questions. Yeah, Jyoti has received some written questions from a resident, so we'll deal with those first.
Okay, so we've had a question from Alma, and the question is, they live in Ruscombe Way, off Bedfont Lane, near Southfield School. During school term, every morning and evening, cars are parked half on the road and on the footpath, blocking the entire footpath. We, as residents who live on Ruscombe Way, have to use the road to walk. My husband is disabled and uses crutches to walk. There are other residents who use the buggy with kids, and we all can't walk on the pavement, and this is a very serious and dangerous risk to our lives. I have complained several times to the council enforcement team, but nothing has been done. This is done on a regular basis in the morning from 8:30 to 9:15, and in the afternoon from 2:45 till 3:15 during school term. And I would like to request you to please look into this matter and try and resolve it as soon as possible. I will not be able to attend this area forum. I'm thanking you in advance, Alma. So that was a question from Alma. And then we've got from Claire, of Friends of Hatton Fields, submitted an extensive response to the 2024 consultation on the council's local plan review, objecting to the industrialisation of Bedfont's green space. What update can councillors give on where we are in the process, and when will a public hearing be held? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jyoti. Any officers want to come in, or
We'll look for a response.
Gary. I can comment on the first one. So that was sent through the Let's Talk platform, and that has been sent forward to traffic and parking enforcement for a response. Came in late last week, so we haven't had a chance to get a response for today, but it has gone through.
Yeah, just very briefly on that, thank you, Emily. There's also the new traffic and parking plan and arrangements outside Southfield Primary School, which is going to aid the problems that this resident has raised. So let's look at that as well moving forward in conjunction. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Have we still got George here? George? Yeah, are you happy for us to provide a written response to the question that you submitted? Yeah, okay, thank you. Any further questions from? Yeah, while I've got George, now if you can just finish.
Is it already on? Yeah. Can we just go back to cycling? Councillor Sidhu, you mentioned £20 million from Line Bikes. Is that £20 million given to councils for allowing them to use, or £20 million for running their outfit?
So £20 million is the investment London-wide. Lime will do to improve the service. So that will increasing more vans to collect the abandoned bikes, to improve the technology where they have to take the photograph when you take the bike and submit it, and when you repark, take the photograph and submit. It's technology and for improvement of more staff to collect the bikes.
Okay, it's just I've pulled a couple out of Feltham Pond in the past, and I just wonder what they're looking at. And also, on bikes again.
Yes.
I was recently followed down Bedfont High Street at 30 mile an hour by one of these electric push bikes, 30 mile an hour. And just coming here tonight, there was one going down the lane. Must have been doing 30 mile an hour as well. Are we, locally, are the police actually looking at these bikes and trying to stop them? Because they are all, I see in other parts of the country, they're necking them because they're doing 50 mile an hour and stuff. I wonder if we're...
Yes, police. I think police is doing operations throughout the borough, but like they're not giving the dates, so because they don't want the perpetrator to go away on that day, so they are doing operations.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I request residents that when they do start speaking, if they can please introduce themselves as well, so we can have a record of that in the minutes? Yep.
Hello, I'm Susan. I just want to take you back, just for a short while, back to the early childhood development. Is that okay? You did mention that the children get to school, some of them without the basic knowledge on how to conduct themselves, you know. But my question is, are there any facilities, if you may enlighten me, where the young parents or even parents of young children have facilities to accompany the children to be taught how charity should begin at home, to give them, the parents, lessons on how to teach the children, so that development should really start at home, and let the teachers take over when the child is, you know, ready. Of course, children have different levels, but nonetheless, it would perhaps help if there isn't such a system, if it can be put into place.
Thank you very much. Stephen, would you like to come in there?
Yep. We have quite a range of services, and I won't go into them all in detail. We can supply that information after the meeting. So we have our 0 to 19 service, which Kelly and her team, they commission that. That includes health visiting, because that's the first contact with, in essence, the support for parents through after birth and pre-birth. We also have our children's centres. There are 11 of those over the borough, and 3 of those are our family hubs, and we're one of 75 local authorities that got money 2 years ago from government to create family hubs, and we run a range of services in the family hubs to support parents with young children to learn all the skills. So they are all available there. We'll make sure we dump that information into the minutes so people have got access to it.
Thank you very much. Next question, please. Yep. Lydia.
I just wanted to say...
Sorry, can you start by introducing yourself, please?
I'm Laura, and I'm from Lambton Leisure, which is the leisure centre down the road. I wanted to go back to the safety thing with families and health and well-being. Obviously, I understand that the parks aren't necessarily safe, but we do have the leisure centre that is safe for your families to come to. We're constantly working with health and well-being people and the council to make sure that inside that building it is safe. If it's a money thing, then obviously we can speak to the council about opening the centre for more open days to bring family down and to actually give back to the community. We just kind of need that support from the council or from, you know, our health and wellbeing team. But it does go, it is an open space where people are safe to use facilities and to take the families swimming or to use racket sports or what. So I understand that you may not necessarily find the park safe for the time being, but there is obviously that space that you can use.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Yeah, Emily, do you want to pass the mic? Please, thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name's Rin. So I just wanted to go back to the question that was emailed into you by Claire. I'm just concerned that the council aren't making it very clear to residents about the intended sell-off of Greenbelt at Hatton Fields. There was a big local plan, and then that kind of got pulled, and then there's been a sort of bit of a consultation, but it's not been as broad as it might be. And I just wonder if residents are actually aware of the plans. It's next to the urban farm. It's a large tract of Greenbelt. It's the last London acid meadows, etc., etc. So I just wondered if that could be covered a bit more, maybe, or I didn't quite get where the question went of Claire's, really.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sidhu, did you want to come in on that?
Yes. The proposal was taken back, and now the consultation just finished, and everything is available online, which is discussed. So once the consultation is finished, so we will get back to you, I think by end of March sometime with all the plans.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sidhu. Next question, please. Anne?
Yes. May I ask why our high street is so filthy? And I mean filthy. If you look at the bins themselves are filthy. I happened to walk through the shopping centre the other day, and there are 2 bins in there which are not maintained by the council, and the guy was absolutely washing them. And I thought, I wish we could get him out onto the high street to do ours. All the edges of the pavements are filthy. If you look at the bus stand, there's a margin of dirt. Around all the bins there is a margin of dirt, to the point where grass is growing in the dirt. They come and they empty the bins along, and they bring the bags from those bins and they put them against the wall of our building at New Chapel Square for the truck to come and pick up. But what is happening, and I have put in complaints about this, what is happening is that the bags leak, and these are the coffee cups, so we've got milk spilled onto the pavement, and milk, as you know, goes off very quickly. Now the foxes are getting into the bags and other people are dumping. I feel that the streets are not swept properly. I have noticed that the truck which comes by and sweeps the high street doesn't get the cycle lane, just a small thing. But the filth, the level of filth, every corner, every building has a margin of dirt everywhere, and I find it very disturbing. And I just never see any action. The whole place needs jet washing, frankly.
Thank you very much for your question, Anne. We've noted down your comments and we'll take that away with us and get back to you on that. Next question, please. Yeah, gentleman at the front.
Yeah, hello, it's Kevin. I just wanted to know if there's any further plans for future demolition down Fern Grove. There's three-storey blocks left there now after the others are knocked down. Is there any plans in place to knock those last 3 blocks down?
Fern Grove, does that come under your ward? No. Do you want to say something, Councillor?
We're not aware of any plans in the near future, but if anything comes up, we'll let everybody know beforehand.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Go on then.
Thank you. Back to the dimming in lights in the street lights, etc. And you've obviously used some idea of where you want them dimmed and where you don't want them dimmed. Do you not think you're just going to move the problem of the places that don't need dimming? People up to noughties will go to the places where the lights are dim now. You're just moving the problem from one place to another, really, aren't you?
No, this whole thing is like taken into the wrong way. The dimming of light is already going on. It's not that something new council is doing. What council is doing is using technology to reduce the light where it's not used at all. So it will be like cul-de-sacs, which are like if you start discussing the road, then obviously you will say that then the problem will go there. So imagine like Orchard Avenue. So lights have already been dimmed during certain period of time and during full moon day. So when the light is not required, it will be dimmed during that time. It will not be dimmed. It will not be off or dimmed that it's totally black. It won't be like that.
Okay. I wonder what criteria you use for choosing the places where they're going to have dim lights and places where they're not going to have dim lights? Okay. Is it trouble spots, you know, drug dealing or something like that?
Councillor Bath, would you like to? Thank you, Councillor Sidhu.
Sorry? Yeah, no, what I'm just going to add to what Councillor Sidhu just said. So to give you an example, if, for example, there is an area where you've got council street lights, but you've also got additional other lights from other area, then obviously you've got quite a lot of light intensity. You won't necessarily need that, and you could dim it in that area. So it's not a blanket dimming, it's just where it is necessary, where it's appropriate not to be having a street light, you know, as bright as it should be. You can already request your street lights to be dimmed. So, for example, you know, I requested a light to be dimmed outside my house because it was flashing right into my bedroom window. So you can request that, and that technology already exists. But having said that, I think, you know, if there are areas where you are concerned that actually this is going to be a problem, then obviously do get in touch with us. But today, I've not actually received a single inquiry from any resident about streetlights or any problems. In fact, I've had people asking for some of their streetlights to be dimmed. So it's important to keep it in context as well. There's not necessarily a direct link between dimming lights and crime, so that is important to bear that in mind as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bath, and very quickly, Councillor Mitchell, please.
Yeah, just to comment on that, I believe since 2016, when this programme has sort of started, it's all been done in conjunction with the Metropolitan Police. So it's to save energy first. It's not about putting safety at risk, because if that reared its head, then it wouldn't happen. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Last question from Carol, please.
I don't need it. Hi, I'm Carol. I live on this estate. I've been here for 28 years. We've got district heating, as you know. We've had mega issues. It happens every winter. Now, T Browns, their staff are absolutely useless. They're telling every resident something different. Our heating went off on Wednesday night, and it didn't come back on till Saturday night. And the people at the council are telling everybody different stories. Why haven't T Browns put notices through people's doors and somebody checking on the residents? I let you know, but since that, nobody from the council nowhere has been to check on anybody, correct? There must be something put in place.
Thank you very much, Carol. That has been noted. Elliot, do you want to comment on that, please?
Thanks, Chair. Just for those of you who don't know me, I'm Elliot Brooks, Director of Communities. Carol, we obviously spoke about this before the meeting, and there does seem to have been some perhaps mixed messages about how long the heating was off for and what kind of communication and the availability of temporary heaters for vulnerable residents, etc. So what I think is needed is sort of the definitive answer about what caused the issues, how long the heating was off for, and then the affected properties, to get that communication in writing from the appropriate department in the council's housing team. So I'll take that. Well, I can assure you they will.
So many different stories. Elliot, you know me very well.
I do,
and
right.
Sick of the bullshit,
Yeah.
sorry, that we get,
No.
that they tell councillor us on one thing, tell me something else.
I make
I'm
sure,
fed up with it.
Carol, I'll make sure that before the letter goes out the door that we have had it checked, that the facts are right, and it is the best knowledge that we know.
You know, the residents are the ones that are suffering.
Yep.
I've lived here all this time, and I'm concerned for the elderly people that live here.
Yep.
Why haven't T Browns actually gone and done it? Tell me, I'll go and knock on people.
No, I don't have the answers tonight, you know, Carol, but I do know about the situation. I was being kept abreast over the weekend about the repair being carried out.
This isn't the first time. It happened a month ago, and this gentleman here was out heating and hot water for a month.
Yep. Like I say, for the Chair, for the actions, I will make sure that the full reasons are explained in writing to the affected tenants as soon as we get the full facts from our engineers. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. In the interests of time, I'm just going to have to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the community spotlight. Now, this is the section where we recognise the work of local charities. So I'm just going to hand over to Emily for her introduction, please.
Hi everyone, my name's Emily. I'm the Community Development Officer for Bedfont and Feltham. Some of you may know me. I'm going to take over the Community Spotlight tonight because we want to make you aware again of what the Community Spotlight is. So it is an opportunity for groups, organisations, groups of residents, so some of our friends of Feltham Green, for example, residents associations, Cultivate, any group or organisation that would like to showcase what they do at the area forum has the spotlight for 15 minutes to come and tell us key points about what they do, anything they want to raise. So we've had, for example, scouts telling us about fundraising opportunities and sessions for young people in the area. We've had a session on Bedfont Lane Community Centre, the building you're in today, and what we do. We've had Ilays do presentations on what they do in Bedfont for the Somali and East African community. We've had amazing stuff from Rise and Thrive and the youth clubs that we have in our area. And this is just to name a few. So this is something we were trialling for this year. So we've had 3 forums this year. One was cancelled for the election. So we've only had 3 community spotlights and loads of amazing conversations in our marketplaces. But tonight, we want to say thank you to the groups that have took their time. A little bit later in the agenda, as you will see, we usually put it at the top. But when we do have the fantastic health strategy with us, things do move down. So today I'd like to ask Councillor Farmahan to join me, and we're going to present Community Spotlight Awards to those that have helped us and raised awareness of the work they've done in the community over the past forums this year. So, first of all, I would like to ask Hassan from Ilays to come to the front if you can. Where do we want to be? Can I go over there? Thank you so much. So, Ilays provides support for residents of Hounslow. To the East African and Somali communities, provide support and advice. They provide youth work. Do you want to say a bit more, Hassan? Yeah, go on.
I would like to say thank you very much to recognize Ilays, and I really appreciate because we're working here for almost 21 years for enhanced law. And this is the first time they calling us, but they calling the Ilays, but now they're calling Hassan my name, and I really appreciate that. And also I would like to thanks for the Hans Law Council, or really they help us for the Ilays because we're working very hard, and also they helping all the time. And that's why we have enjoying to help, the immigrants people, to help for the adult people, to help for the people who had a problem with the housing, and help the people who needing the advice and guidance. And we also help for the people who had a problem for the prevent violent extremism in the Somali community. Yeah, I would like to say thank you for everyone.
So, next up we have Rise and Thrive, who are one of our fantastic youth and community organisations. So can I ask Darren to come to the stage, please? So you may not have seen Darren and Siobhan in our community spotlight in the past, but if you were at the Christmas Forum, they did a fantastic boxing and youth awareness session. So if either of you want to say anything about the fantastic work you do, go for it.
I would like to say just a little bit, thank you all for this beautiful evening and this award. It's always a pleasure. But I want to say about you, my lovely, I think you were spot on tonight. I think then generations started in home, bring the community back together in a different light. And I think everyone's got to stop pulling against each other or pulling away from each other and come together. Like, we're out on High Street, we do a lot of outreach to sort of eradicate any problems on the High Street with children and with adults. Sometimes it filters into that. On the 22nd of this month, awareness, right, around child exploitation. We've got a community run about bringing the community, all walks of life, all services, all professionals from schools to police and everyone. I think as it stands, we've got over 20 police officers involved. You're more than welcome to look us up on Facebook, join in, be a part of that, and let's sort of look at where the problem lies. It lays in the home, you know, and it's how we can filter this through to the community and become a family again. You know, and thank you very much for the award. Brilliant, thank you.
Just to say, the event on the 22nd is Hanworth Park Run. So that'll be 9 o'clock at Hanworth Park. Free for anyone to join. Come along, get involved. I'll be there, so you get to watch me run round a field, look right away. Right, next one. Unfortunately, this group couldn't join us today, and we wanted to honour this group because they were due to be our community spotlight for the June forum. So as you know, it was cancelled for the election. So this is for Bedfont Sports FC. For those that know, Terry and the team down there, fantastic work that goes on in the Bedfont area. So please give a round of applause for Terry and the team. And we'll get Councillor Sidhu to drop that one off for us. There we go. Next one. Last but not least, we have, drum roll please, Bedfont Lane Community Centre. So can I please ask Carol to come up? So Carol actually ended up being our first community spotlight. And in my disorganisation, I think I asked her to do this probably about 2 days before. So not everybody knows what goes on at Bedfont Lane Community Centre, but I like to think that by having forum here, by speaking to Carol, by talking to the residents in your area, you learn more about what we have going on in this great space. So thank you so much, Carol, for having us. If you want to say anything, go.
Say too much. Thank you to everybody. We do try and cover everybody in our borough. It is a community hall that's open to everybody. We do an amazing lunch here. Peoples, a lot of them sticking their fingers up. On a Thursday here, it's open to anybody in the community, and it's all led by volunteers and all cooked with surplus food. 12:30, it's amazing. Just come down, sit down on a table and talk to somebody you don't know. That person might not have seen anybody all week, and it just makes their day to meet other people. That's one of the things we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Councillor Farmahan. And just a reminder, if you want to have the 15-minute spotlight or join us in Marketplace or join us for anything to do with Forum, please just let us know. We'd love to have you. We want to know what's going on in the community. So thank you. And thank you, Councillor Asim.
Thank you very much, Emily. And my personal thanks as well to all of the community spotlights. Thank you for all the work that you do to support the local residents. Next item on the agenda is the action plan updates. Thank you. Okay, would Feltham North councillors please like to start?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to update regarding the Baber Bridge. An update on the Baber Bridge project is due at the June area forum. Traffic have updated that is in the meantime work is underway to pursue and appoint a consultant for a design services. Resident can see the previous update on our Let's Talk Hounslow page. Please ask your councillors and the community development officer for the URL for the page or scan the QR code before you leave. Printed copies are also available on request. Thank you. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Tack.
Thank you, Chair. I have an update to provide about the Sparrow Farm Road resurfacing. The initial plan was to resurface the road from starting from the junction of the Durham Road and all the way till the Passercourt. But the external funds the council received from Department for Transport allocated for the scheme in this area was only sufficient to treat the section between the junction of the drive and Signet Avenue. This was the detail, and the details were included in the published list on our website for all the schemes completed in late 2024. Hounslow Highway's annual survey later this calendar year will assess the remainder of Sparrow Farm Drive, and that will enable us to determine if any works are scheduled under the PFI contract before we look again at a future external grant to treat the road outside the contract area. The Department for Transport grant for 25-26 is still to be confirmed, and we have a provisional program based on the 2024 survey, subject to the level of funding received. Once we receive the data for the remainder of the road, we can consider the remainder of the road from 26-27. We'll come back to you when the results from the survey are finalized, which will inform our decisions. Please note that due to the long-term nature of this item, next update will be provided in the alternate form instead of next one.
Thank you, Councillor Tuck. I think you also have an update from Councillor Nagra.
Yes. It was initially to be announced by Councillor Nagra. I'm announcing it in her absence. We are keen for the community to make suggestions for addition to the action plan. We know there are several great community projects that have happened, like the Donkey Woods program. I'm not sure how many here do know about the Donkey Woods program. I'll be happy to provide details later on. The work of the Friends of River Crane in the area, as well as the tree planting on the Sparrow Farm estate, the cricket pitch installation. These are just to name a few. We can't promise all suggestions will be suitable for the action plan, but we'll always work with you on your ideas and support where we can. Please speak to us or the community development team if you have any ideas that you want us to put forward and take actions on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tuck. Moving on to Feltham West updates, and that's Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Feltham High Street engagement. This goes back to the summer of 2021 when we had a very serious incident in McDonald's with a knife and a stabbing young people. Myself and the then Councillor Hanif Khan decided we had to do something. We weren't going to let the town slowly descend into that sort of chaos. So over time we've worked with community safety, the estate enforcement teams on Waterloo, Westmacott, Highfields, the London Borough of Hounslow Youth Outreach Team, businesses on the High Street, we speak to them, housing associations like A2 Dominion, Feltham Town Centre Management, the Metropolitan Police, and the wonderful work that Darren and Siobhan do in the youth service, Pulse, and over in Hanworth. So we have a multi-agency approach. It's not just trying to move problems on, it's actually getting in the middle there and actually trying to get to the root of it and finding solutions. So we have an update. Community Safety held a day of action on the 22nd of January, I think. Where is he? Is he in? I thought I saw him. The guy who led it. Where is he? I can't see him. Perhaps he's gone out again. To unite our residents and partners to address local concerns, the focus was on building stronger connections with the community, providing reassurances and trust among residents. The theme centred around the perception of crime and surveys concerning PSPOs, public space protection orders. We had a great outcome. There was lots of participation and colleagues and centre management and residents. A lot of people joined in on that afternoon. A lot of them didn't know what was happening, but they did join in, so we're going to feed back on that. We're still doing the police ward panels. We had one here a couple of weeks ago where a lot of good work took place, and a lot of the things we've discussed tonight come up. We are always chasing these things. These are live issues. The team bring these things to their area-based meetings, and again, this multi-agency approach is designed so that we can actually get in there amongst all of the stakeholders and the people it affects, so we get an idea of what's happening from their perspective, and then we can do something better about it. For instance, last night in my block in the town centre in Beginia House, 3 guys and a dog rough sleeping in our building. We was able to get the rough sleeping unit involved in that, and not just the police moving on the issues, moving the problem on. So that was good. continue to feed into it. The police have got MOPAC money for investment in our youth. We need to find a home for that money. And I know that Hina and Maddie and the other Feltham councillors are very keen to engage in that process, because I think that's the next stage because we don't want to go back to the way it was in the town centre. And a lot of us have seen the kids in the last 2 or 3 months when it got dark, on the bikes and doing things in Greg's. Yeah, I even was involved in one issue with them where they were using those wet floor signs, those yellow things, as sort of frisbees outside Subway. Not having that, no. And, we take the kids to task. We take the root causes to task. So let's keep working on that. And I'm pleased to say that's what we'll do, and we will do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Meir.
Thank you, Chair. It's an update on the events in Feltham West. As we know that the community have some great ideas for projects and positive changes in Feltham West, from the Feltham Station Gallery to Feltham Fete, mosaics on community walls to positive murals and greening in our parks. Just to name a few community initiatives, we know residents have projects and ideas they may want to share for support or a discussion, and our action plan doesn't always have to be community issues. Please do let us know if you have any idea or an improvement you want to share for your area, and we can discuss it. If it's it fit for the action plan, or find the support where we can, as relevant, speak to your local councillors or a member of community development team. We have the whole team here, and come up with ideas, and we are more than happy to assist. I'm sure you have Feltham West, Feltham North and Bedfont Ward councillors here, so we all can assist in that. Come up with any ideas you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Meir. Moving on to Bedfont Ward and Councillor Sidhu.
Thank you, Chair. In Bedfont High Street, we have an issue for people parking in front of their shops and then uneven pathways. The problem is that that area is privately owned, and it's very less powers as a council's local authority we have. But still, we send the letters to all the businesses. Some have worked promptly and resurfaced, not up to the standards, but they've done something, but some of the businesses haven't done nothing. So work is in progress. So we are trying to send them letters and trying to ask them to do things like by using health and safety sort of angle, but like it's very difficult when it's a private property to enforce that. And the second thing is parking. So like when they're driving the car on the footpath and going to their own land, we can only give the tickets if we see them doing it. So once the car is parked, so we cannot give them a ticket. So that's another issue. So the officers are working hard to catch them, but when we will do it, it's up to I would say luck or bad luck of theirs. So the officers are working on that. So hopefully we'll have some good results. Next time I will have more update on that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sidhu. Next, Councillor Farmahan, please.
Thank you, Chair. Request for items for Bedfont Action Plan. We are seeking further items from the community for Bedfont Action Plan. We know across Bedfont there are projects and ideas that community have which could become items for the action plan. From greening projects to creation of community or resident groups, seeking funding for sports or leisure activities to benefit our young people or a community chosen events. These are just some examples. Your ideas are most important to us, and we want to hear from you. Not everything will be suitable to be added to the action plan, but we will work with you to link and support you to relevant teams and services we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Farmahan. And finally, Councillor Bath.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm going to give you an update on Bedfont Pits. Some of you will know that Bedfont Pits is a long-standing problem that we've been trying to resolve for a number of years now. Basically, it's an area of land that is not is not in council ownership, so council doesn't currently have the responsibility to maintain it, but it's been an eyesore for a very long time, and it's restricted. So, for example, when it's overgrown, it's restricted people's ability to walk safely by the side of the area, and it also happens to be quite close to a school, a primary school. So we, the ward councillors, have been working on this for quite a while now. We've had a number of sort of site visits with various sort of officers from within different teams to try and get this resolved. And the process is, at the moment, is that the council is working with the owner to try and transfer that area of land to council, so that once it is transferred, then the council will have the responsibility of maintaining it. At the moment, we try and get it maintained as much as possible, but it isn't actually the responsibility of the owner. That's why it's been such an eyesore for quite a long time. So I think there is progress, which is really good, and hopefully once the full transfer of ownership takes place, then we'll be able to maintain it and keep it looking good. And it will mean that, I think we talked a lot about people being healthy and being able to walk around safely. I just think that this will really help in terms of people being able to move around and feeling safe to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. Councillor Sidhu. Sorry.
I just wanted to know whether or not you meant you was purchasing Bedfont pits, because you said transfer of ownership.
Very good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know it's going to be transferred, so it could be a purchase. I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything which might be completely inaccurate. So, but we can find out. But the good news is, the council will have responsibility for maintaining it, and that's the main thing, because at the moment it's not maintained. Yeah. I don't know that. I'm sorry, I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know that. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. Councillor Sidhu.
Yes, previously when the presentation was given, there is a discussion about green and like to bit more greenery. So I just want to announce that there's 20,000 trees were planted last year in London Borough of Hounslow. That was the target which was achieved, which was promised.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sidhu. Nearly towards the end. Next item on the agenda is any other business. I've not been notified of anything. So the date of the next meeting is Thursday, the 10th of July. And just to note that blanket flyering will no longer be taking place. But if any residents would like a leaflet, please feel free to contact somebody from the communities team, and they will take your details and post it out. Alternatively, you can access information on our website. That's all. And I'd also like to put on record as chair, feedback forms, please could you hand them back in to Emily or Alan. And also I'd like to put on my record my thanks to our special guests, to all our community groups, to members, and to, of course, the residents. Thank you very much.